Ever since we got a first look at 007 First Light at Summer Games Fest this year, this game has got a ridiculous amount of criticism. Now, I understand a AAA game getting a considerable amount of skepticism, but for what we've seen so far, I'm not entirely convinced it's warranted, mostly because of the studio behind it. I mean, they have a very recent track record of success making very good games. It's an IP that very much lends itself to be adapted by that same studio with that same type of pedigree. It's just, it's the weird things that are getting pointed out as to why people don't like this. Oh, James Bond, he looks too twinkish. It's like, okay. It's a weird kind of you thing. Or, you know, the most common complaint that I'm seeing out here. Okay. Oh, why are all the female characters ugly in 007 First Light? Why are they all so I mean, beauty is, of course, subjective, and I can go ahead and say, you know, the short haircuts are a little bit fucking cringe for sure, but the chick on the top, I think she's far from ugly. And yeah, you know, if Miss Shorn back insides there, you know, had a longer flow, she would look much more feminine, but I've seen the Miss Moneypenny stand-in, the black chick that's right there, you know, with the big glasses and stuff. I just think that that's kind of an unflattering screenshot. But yes, of course, Indian M down there is a little bit odd. But yeah, pointing out that there's a conspicuous amount of women in my James Bond game. I mean, there is cause for concern on that. I'm not going to go ahead and dismiss that, because that is it's kind of a big problem, and it's really something that put me off of the second Wolfenstein game from, oh god, Machine Games, right? Yeah, Machine Games made that first oh my god, that's one that sucks, man, because that first game was so good. Then the second one sucked so bad. But yeah, even from when it was first revealed and you had BJ Blazkowicz's pregnant wife and diverse female no-nonsense character, god, it's just, remember how games journalists were deriding the AAA industry for having muted colors and washed out grays and browns in their military shooters, and oh, how this is a trope that needs to die. How long has this strong empowered black female been a trope in gaming? 2 to 3 times longer than that was, and they aren't calling out this fucking lazy game development crutch. But I digress. Going back to 007 First Light, I mean, the James Bond franchise has had quite a few banger entries throughout the years. They've had quite a few misses, but overall, when it comes to an IO interactive Hitman style game, like this is, I can't speak to all of the, you know, the GameCube ones that came out, but at least for the ones that I'm far more aware of, you've had more mission-based first-person shooters or third-person shooters that have been out there before, but something like this, like an actual spy stealth game, this could be cool as hell, man. So to get hung up by what you perceive to be ugly women or a lot of women, I mean, that could be annoying. It definitely ruined my enjoyment of Uncharted 4, but then again, that was also Neil Cuckman's writing over the top of it. But I understand why people would be skeptical, as very much like I understand people being skeptical of Ghost of Yotei, but from what we're seeing, it's looking pretty good, okay? But Patrick Gibson, he's going to be the voice actor for this new iteration of James Bond in the video game, 007 First Light. The gameplay trailer, the release date revealed, yes, a bunch of that stuff. We're not going to go over the trailer. Obviously, I'm going to be linking out to a place where you can watch it if you are so inclined. But yeah, we'll get the details here. Okay, the gameplay trailer is released, and the release date for IO Interactive and Amazon's eagerly anticipated James Bond video game, 007 First Light, was revealed Wednesday, along with news that Dexter Original Sin and the OA, star Patrick Gibson will be voicing the iconic British Secret Service agent. In the game, the origin story for Bond will launch on March 27th, 2026. The standard edition is for PS5, Xbox Series X, and S consoles, PC via Steam in the Epic Store, and physical-only specialist versions alongside a compatible Switch 2 port, alongside the PS5 and then the Xbox Series of a 007 First Light are both priced at $70. And a limited edition, yeah, which is actually like pretty cool, your Legacy Edition for $300, but get like a replica golden gun and a bunch of shit, so it's kind of pretty cool. But then again, you know, it's a bunch of tchotchkes, so not necessary, but to see fun collector stuff every once in a while, you know, and still kind of a goober for that stuff at heart. Per the title's description, follow James Bond as a young, resourceful, and sometimes reckless recruit in MI6 training program and discover the origin story of the world's most famous spy. Yeah, and you can actually do spy stuff this time around as well, along with Gibson. The voice and motion capture cast for 007 First Light include Priyanka Burford as M, Alistair Mackenzie as Q, Kira Lester as Ms. Moneypenny, Lenny James as a Bond's mentor, John Greenway, and Nomi Naki as Miss Roth. Sure, man. Yeah, there's the trailer if you want to watch it, but in general, I'm going to talk about IO Interactive's involvement with this because that is far more pressing to the success of this game. Because, yeah, the 007 franchise, it's been a little bit mangled in recent years. Thanks, Daniel Craig, for as much as, well, I do like Skyfall, but it's not great. I think it's like I think a 7 would actually be apropos in my assessment of it. So it's quite good, but it's not something that I'm really gagging to go back and watch. Casino Royale, it's as trite as it is to say. It's one of my favorite movies. Maybe top 10, at least top 15. Okay, I really got to say, maybe that's something that I got to stream in the near future, just, you know, going through my favorite TV shows and movies, but that's just an idea I'm throwing around. But yeah, how Daniel Craig's stay as 007, you know, wrapped up with Spectre and No Time to Die. It's been since 2020 since we've had a proper James Bond movie. And yeah, we've got a director, we got a writer for the upcoming Amazon reboot, but we don't have a James Bond. We've got a couple of rumors that are out there. We got a couple of very popular fan casts, but it just goes to show you, man, even with such a terrible end to an era, people still really like a James Bond. It's still an incredibly popular IP. It's really not too dissimilar to Hitman, a game series that has been around since, the early stages of the PS2. The PS2 suffered through some suboptimal offerings in the PS3 era, but really came back into its own the late stages of the PS4 and then into the PS5 as well. So yeah, there's reason for optimism. So is 007 First Light like Hitman? IO Interactive Development explained. Okay, so 007 First Light like Hitman for a game, or is it like it for at a gameplay standpoint? That's a common question for anyone who hears IO Interactive is making the jump to James Bond. Millions of people fell in love with the Hitman world of Assassination trilogy over the last decade. During that time, Agent 47 had an established formula that was consistently refined with interesting maps and engaging challenges. James Bond has quite an interesting history when it comes to video games, but what can you expect from the newest game? Is a 007 First Light like Hitman? Alright, well, First Light can be compared to Hitman and shares some of the mechanics and stylings, but it's not an exact copy and it's its own game, which is great. You know, take inspiration from the other titles that you guys have made before, but have something uniquely 007. A lot of things that connect Hitman and First Light are the exploration aspects of the game. Awesome. Plan out your assassinations, plan out your missions. Good. So when things are calm, Bond will survey his environments and look for ways to sneak around and enter restricted areas by causing distractions or using gadgets to disorient enemies. And they're very similar to how Agent 47 operates in Hitman, so the blueprints align there, though we haven't seen James try to steal anyone's outfit like 47 does. Well, that could still happen, okay? We would say where the two differ the most is in combat. In Hitman, the focus is very much on remaining stealthy as long as possible. Agent 47 can fight his way out of a tricky situation, but those moments are rather limiting. Shooting in Hitman games is rather stiff, and the melee is basic at best. And First Light seems to have gotten a bigger facelift when it comes to combat. Bond can do more with the environment around him when fighting, grab an enemy, and throw them in a direction. Or fight to take a weapon away from someone. We've also seen Bond control an airplane and make it sideways, while in combat, and that could be bigger ways to give your enemies a harder time at taking you out. First Light has more than just stealth and combat. There's a story here, but to be honest, it's nothing special or interesting. Oh, and talking about Hitman, IO Interactive is putting in the work to make a First Light more cinematic experience than Hitman, because yeah, the world of assassination stuff, it's just very much, it's interconnected missions, but is there an overarching story? Not as much, at least not as much as First Light is positing rather. Consider the car driving section that never appeared in Hitman, or just how much more James Bond is willing to talk to get his way. We love Agent 47, but this point of his character, yes, is silent and stoic. From the early look we've had of the game, First Light definitely appears to have some of the DNA Hitman in it. So yeah, taking the stuff that made the game successful back in the cut, but then just putting that good coat of James Bond paint over the top of it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I will be paying attention to this, and yeah, if it ends up being woke slop that is just overwhelmingly girl bossy, I'll call it out 100%. Same with Ghosts of Yote, but ultimately, I want games to be good. I want us to get out of this slop era that we have been in for far too fucking long. Because for as much as it's nice to see the indie success in 2025, that should just be supplementary to an otherwise healthy AAA industry. Gaming was so great, 15 to 20 years ago, but now, AAA is on death's door, and if it doesn't rebound, and if James Bond can't bring it back, well, hey, nothing can. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.